I can't help but to acknowledge that the only thing that was accomplished by resisting Trump was less understanding and more division amongst Americans. Sometimes great movements, great resistance, you have to divide more, unfortunately, before you can restore anything, especially when it comes to a group of people. You can't please everybody. And if you're being honest and you're on the side of righteous and justice, you're going to draw that line in the sand and you have to 10 toes that sucker. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So I think it's important that we as a people, need to come together and talk about something that is a real thing. And, if you're a Republican, sorry for you, because something like this, I don't think really affects conservatives or Republicans, because it's like they're their own individual and they don't really care about nobody else. They don't care about their party as a whole or what kind of policies or legislation that their party's trying to or should be implementing and holding their policymakers accountable. In my opinion, I don't really think as a whole they care about that. They just want to own the left and just win something, win what, no one cares, but they just want to win. But when it comes to Democrats and kind of talk about the subject, I decided to not be a Democrat because of similar opinions that Miss Anna has. It's sad when you're a part of a party that could be, should be, and has the potential and the opportunities to do better. That's one. And then two, some of your voters or some of your allies start to turn against you in weird, awkward conversations. And I think I only had like 2 instances since I've been on YouTube where I had people who I would assume are Democrats comment on my video, and not saying that I said anything wrong, but because of my one opinion that's just, for me and myself, they could not agree with my entire thesis or my entire statement on trans issues. And we'll probably get into that later, but it's like, I'm your ally, but you talking to me like we're enemies. And I don't understand that. Like, just take my allyship and leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and kind of read kind of what she posted here. I think this is Slack or something like that, or Substack. I don't know what it is. I'm not hip like that. I just get on Discord and that's it, but this is her article she put out: independent and unaligned. You're right. I've changed. Got you. This is from Anna, obviously from Young Turks. I'm a pretty decent fan of Young Turks. Not everything I do agree with or align with, some of their opinions, but I think as a whole they're pretty decent. But she said, after Trump came into office, the political scene, and especially after he was elected in 2016, the us versus them mentality immediately took shape. Anyone who refused to resist Trump was seen as a threat to the country, and I was fully on board with that mindset. I think that's a lot of people, and maybe that was our mistake, just taking that mindset, it's us versus them. Maybe that was our mistake, but it happened. It all felt righteous at first, but eventually the tactics deployed to fight Trump became repetitive, boring, and ultimately fruitless, which once again, that was pretty much the point of why I stopped recording for like 8 months, 10 months, I think, because it just felt like I was speaking into the void, even though I had a lot of faithful viewers, watchers, subscribers. It just felt like the message as a whole was like talking to no one. And and seeing no fruit from my labor. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. Polling shows that he has increased his support among blacks and Latinos voters despite wall-to-wall coverage of his unsavory, racist, and bigoted remarks. Once again, people don't have no self-worth, no self-respect. All they think about is themselves and how are they doing, which I understand. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of strides that have been taken in this country was because we fought together as a group. And, you know, we could talk about Reconstruction, Jim Crow, slavery as a whole, and just the civil rights movement. We as a whole cared about each other and ourselves. But today I don't really see that being important. So, you know, some black folks don't care if Donald Trump is being racist. They're just worried about themselves, which once again, I kind of do in some sense understand. Several years of media raising alarm over Trump's threat to democracy has only resulted in a tight presidential race between himself and Kamala Harris, which once again, it is kind of weird, but it is what it is. I can't help but to acknowledge that the only thing that was accomplished by resisting Trump was less understanding and more division amongst Americans. Sometimes great movements, great resistance, you have to divide more, unfortunately, before you can restore anything, especially when it comes to a group of people. You can't please everybody. And if you're being honest and you're on the side of righteous and justice, you're going to draw that line in the sand and you have to 10 toes that sucker. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it is what it is. Let's see. I personally became reluctant to challenge my side or engage with voters who disagreed with me. In turn, I became less knowledgeable about the people in the world around me. I saw Republican voters as an evil monolith, and that was a big mistake. That's something that I do myself kind of get caught up in and just, you know, blanket remarks over all Republicans or all Democrats. That's something I need to work on, is not be so general with my statements, but sometimes it's hard to do that. My evolution started in 2022 when I was sexually assaulted by a homeless man in my neighborhood as I walked my dog. That horrible experience alone didn't change me politically, but the treatment I received from the far left and some progressives after sharing the story did, which once again, and as we read further here, I think this would be considered the far left. I've been asking that question for a long time. Who is the far left? What is the far left? What is their policies or their position on things, and what do they represent? And after reading this, because I didn't know the story happened to Anna, so I was kind of unaware of this, but we'll see kind of what their response was. I was told that by publicly sharing what had happened to me, I was stigmatizing my unhoused neighbors. Others accused me of feeding into racist tropes because they assumed my attacker was black, but I had never even disclosed the man's race. He was white. So that is some bullshit. Like, you're stigmatizing your unhoused neighbors. First off, bro, I don't even like my housed neighbors, okay? So I don't really give a damn about unhoused neighbors, especially if they're assaulting my housed neighbors. Like, the whole wordplay, the whole game with the semantics, and I don't play that. You know what I'm saying? And I can imagine Miss Anna, she took that personally because I never been sexually assaulted. So to be in that position and then have people essentially blame you and say, hey, you're doing something wrong in the light of sharing your story, I could see that could be kind of fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So that's not cool. And if that is the far left, that's why I have nothing to do with them. And once again, this has nothing to do with policy or anything of substance. If anyone unhoused or housed, which I don't even know why we're using that terminology, they need to be held accountable. And I don't care where they live or what color they are. If you do that to somebody, you need to be held accountable. So, I mean, come on now. Not only did I suddenly see the flawed thinking of some of the left, I also witnessed their cruelty and hypocrisy in real time. These terrible traits that I had associated solely with my political opponents were obviously not exclusive to their tribe. I was stupid for even thinking that was the case. Well, I mean, people are people, no matter what political party, where they stand, spiritually. Dummies are going to be dummies. Idiots are going to be idiots, and you have to expect them to do such. So, I mean, there you go. That doesn't mean everyone on the left thinks or behaves in this way. This small group of lunatics do. Far from it. But it does mean that there are factions and flaws on both sides of the aisle, and no one has a monopoly on truth. I do get, and if we do believe truth to be an objective thing, and it only could be one truth, because you can't have two things that are true about the same subject, because then one would have to cancel the other. So, I mean, no one has a monopoly on it, but if you're speaking truth, then like everyone else in theory has to be wrong if they have other opinions about it, right? Then there was this insane reaction from one of my tweets in March 2023. She says, I am a woman. Please do not refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. Okay. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit. You are right. And like I said, with my one or two encounters, I was talking about transgender rights and whatever the case was. I done made over 300 videos. So, and then one of the comments was like, oh no, in my video, I said, I'm a Christian. Me personally, and for me and my household, we do not condone being gay, being trans, whatever the case is. God made you who you are, and you just need to work on yourself to be able to love yourself the way that God loves you. Pretty simple. But if you disagree with that, then that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I believe you should still be treated like a human. I believe you shouldn't be marginalized or scapegoated for any political reason. And that was pretty much my message in my video. But of course, the person was like, oh, you're a Christian? Well, and just started going off on some tangent. It's like, but I just said that's me personally. And I'm not trying to force that on you. So why are you coming at me like that? And that's what I said. And, I don't want to say I have thicker skin than Miss Anna, but like, you're going to encounter a lot of stupid people, unfortunately. She said, all hell broke loose after I posted these words. Most friends in the left-wing media didn't bother reaching out privately to discuss their disagreements with my personal preference. Instead, many self-described socialists took it upon themselves to profit from conflict by publicly attacking me with monetized videos. unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast. Like, you have something to say, you can get monetized. It kind of goes hand in hand. So that one, all right. A smaller leftist YouTuber show put out 5 separate videos skewing me about the tweet while conveniently erasing my advocacy I had done on behalf of the transgender community throughout my career. They even went as far as drawing a link between my tweet and trans suicides, which sadly wasn't the most unhinged outcome of the debacle. So once again, people will be able to connect dots with or without you. We see it on both sides of the fence, from Republicans and Democrats, and that's just something. If you're going to be a political commentator or, you know, a journalist or whatever she claims to be, that's just kind of how it is, especially when you're, you know, getting up there in popularity. People are just going to do that because they know there's a group of people who don't like you, and they're going to eat anything up that has something to do with tearing you down. They're going to eat it regardless if it's true or not. If it's based off of dragons coming from out of the sky that you summoned from eating children, and now is going to eat every Christian in the world, like, they're going to believe that regardless of reality, regardless of facts, of your career history. They don't care. If they don't like you, they don't like you. So then she goes on talking about she's creating a new platform. One thing that I do want to point out is, let me see, where did she say it? I wish I could highlight on here, but I couldn't find a way to highlight. But she said, I'm hungry for dialogue, a space for an in-depth analysis and a judgment-free zone. I mean, but doesn't just about any platform claim to do that? So it's like, it's cool, but once again, it's like, it's nothing really different. So, I mean, sure. And then she says something about truth, but I can't find it. So let me see. Honestly, yeah. So my point of reading that and hopefully some clarification, at least for whoever's listening. And like I said, it's something that I struggle with even getting back on YouTube, is if you have a strong conviction about something, and for me is this political conversation that I like to have, and I try to make sure I'm having conversations with an intellectual integrity and a moral honesty. And I didn't come up with that slogan myself. I got that from Dr. West. But if you truly believe you're operating in that realm, you have a duty, you have a responsibility here on this earth to try to make something better. And it may not be in your lifetime, but it's your job to continue that progression forward. And I had to convince myself months after month after month after month, is like, this is who I am. I love having these conversations. I love reading. I love learning new things. I love data and analysis. And I need to be able to share that with people. And hopefully I deliver it in such a way to where it makes some sort of kind of little small difference. And that's all that matters, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. So, I mean, if you disagree with anything that I said, of course, throughout this whole video, don't be shy. Let me know in the comments down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.